What is up? I'm back again as Isaac of the Dead. Let's talk about Rings of Power. So I watched episode 5, and I'm starting to catch up on Rings of Power, even though I'm sort of behind right now. So spoilers in this episode, if you really give that much of a shit. But we're seeing Numenor stuff going on here. Basically, the character assassination of Elendil once more. That has not changed at all. Ever since Ar-Pharazôn saw the eagle swoop in, he took the scepter, and now his son is like, you have the power of Numenor now. And he's like, fuck off. So Muriel is blind, and she actually is like, yeah, you know, the Palantir told me that if I continue down the path of being the leader of Numenor, the place is going to be flooded. That's foreseeing the prophecy of the fall of Numenor. And it was going to happen either way, because most people who know about that story just know that it's going to happen eventually. So Elendil is just a manservant of Muriel. When Ar-Pharazôn takes control of Numenor, he gets rid of these religious, churches and whatnot, which of course ends up having a backlash, and there's a breakout fight in one of these churches because Ar-Pharazôn's son is a dick and his loyalists are a dick. This is all stuff that, could have been handled way better if they were really going for like this Game of Thrones aspect, this like political intrigue drama thing. And of course, unnamed guy who I really don't care about, who's a friend of Isildur, he gets killed like immediately after a fight, and it was kind of just bizarre and like weird, and just like I was sitting there wondering, who cares? Who cares about this guy? Who cares about like whatever's going on here? The point of this whole sequence with Numenor is to destroy Elendil, and then by default destroy Isildur rather, and make him Isildur. It's kind of fucking pathetic, actually, because Earache, his fictional daughter that was made up for the show, is loyal to Ar-Pharazôn. So, this whole thing with Numenor is, Numenorians are supposed to be like 7-8 foot tall. They're supposed to be peak humans. They're supposed to be really like, they're supposed to be like Atlanteans, They're supposed to be like the Nephilim, not the Nephilim, but like, maybe like Anunnaki or something, like they're supposed to be peak humans. But here they're all just like clumpy and fat and, diverse. So anyway, we move on to Galadriel. She gets captured by the orcs, and Adar, another character who was made up for the show, and they treat her as how you should treat Galadriel. They stuff her in a cage, and they're all wondering when she's going to destroy them all. And so that's an appropriate response to how psychopathic she is, foregoing the fact that she's only like 4 foot tall. And Adar goes out of his way to explain to her that they have an enemy in common, and that perhaps they can align themselves together. Which, you want to stop and think about this for a second. You want to say that this is Galadriel, who is aligning herself with the orc leader to take out Sauron. Am I hearing this correctly? Does any of this make any sense to anybody? Even if you haven't read the books, which I haven't read the Silmarillion, I don't know the entire lore of this timeline, and even just watching the Peter Jackson movies, this shit doesn't make any sense. It has no continuity, even with the Peter Jackson movies. And they're trying their hardest to make this line up and have some sort of relationship with the Peter Jackson movies, when there's no relation at all. There's no relation to Tolkien at all. This doesn't make any sense. So, anyway, that's a small detail. Most of the rest of the episode comes down to the dwarves, right? And how Durin the Third, the base Chad that he is using one of the dwarven rings that was forged by Celebrimbor and Annaltar, who I will promptly call Annaltar from now on. So he uses the dwarf ring to seek out parts of the mountain in Khazad-dûm where they need to dig in order to reach sunlight again, because the cave collapsed, like the Khazad-dûm collapsed on itself, so they lost sunlight. So now Durin the Fourth, his son, basically is like, what happened with those rings? You know, who's making those rings and why are they so powerful? Why this feels like dark magic? And most of the episode is just him questioning the rings, and nothing really comes of it because nothing's revealed. And some of the editing choices around it were fucking weird too, because there was a moment where Durin was talking with his son in his like chambers, and it cuts to a whole different sequence, and then it cuts back to the same conversation as if it's a different conversation. The editing choices are so weird like that. It doesn't make any sense. And well, when has this show ever made sense? So Durin is suspicious of all of it. I don't know how he travels from Khazad-dûm to Eregion, like as if he's being flown there by eagles, basically. Like there's no sense of world building either. There's no sense of distance or time with this story, and so they just have to accept that, you know, the dwarven rings are needed, and so they create 7 more rings for the dwarves. Are they? Somebody please explain to me. Are they making the rings out of order? Because it went elven rings first, and then dwarves, and then realms of men, right? Are they doing this out of order, or is it just me? I have no idea. Of course, by the logic of Annaltar keeps trying to convince Celebrimbor to make more rings by gaslighting him repeatedly. Instead of convincing him in a more mature and lore accurate way, where it's more like, you know, he's planting these ideas, these seeds into Celebrimbor's brain, it's more like, hey, I'm going to gaslight you. I'm going to gaslight you into making more rings. And so Celebrimbor goes from men are too easily corruptible, so we shouldn't make rings for them, to well, hell, how else are we going to fight evil without making more rings for everybody? It's so weird how they do it. I can't describe to you how they do it without knowing most of the lore to say how it's wrong. I just know that it doesn't sound right even for me. You know? So basically, Celebrimbor goes a little crazy trying to, I guess, balance himself between all the lies that he has to have with Gil-galad and Annaltar. And so, yeah, most of the episode comes down to Annaltar trying to convince Celebrimbor and the people of Eregion to create more rings. And it's just mad sus. At that point, you just turn off the forge. Of course, while they were making one of the rings, one of the assistants to Celebrimbor accidentally discovered the unseen place. The place when you put on the ring, you go to you turn invisible and you go to the unseen place, right? So they reference bomb that, even though it's pretty clear that I think the rings that are made for men and dwarves and elves don't do that. That's only the one ring that does that. At least that's from what I believe, right? I think that's what I was under the impression of, is that one ring did that. So again, it's more Easter eggs and cameos and references to shit that they don't have the rights to. And so it just feels like it's disingenuous. It feels boring. Well, it is boring. It's really boring. Certainly, the more Numenorian and Elven stuff that we see is a step further away from the absolute trash that is the Harfoots and, you know, the Sylvan Elf, you know, Don Lemonless. Those stupid storylines that didn't need to happen. And so, yeah, there wasn't as many laughs in this episode. It's more lore breaking shit, and it's more boring, and it's just like, oh, Disa is nuts. Okay, I'm gonna stop that. She trades whatever little money she has in a market for an orb, a bowling ball, to which she immediately drops like a fucking klutz, and it rolls down some stairs, and then there's a hint that the Balrog's down there. Of course, Durin doesn't believe that there's a Balrog down there, and Durin the Fourth tries to convince his father, and his father's like, no, I've seen the entire mountain, because of this ring here, I've seen the entire mountain, and there is no beast down there. So he's either lying or whatever, right? Like I'm kind of hoping the Balrog kills them all. I hope we see that in Khazad-dûm. I'm really hoping for it. But Disa is just a clumsy fucking cow. And I can't believe I have to make this clear. I'm not slandering the actress, all right? I'm slandering the character. The character and the actress are two fucking different things. So everybody who's going flip out over that, my God, chill out. So, yeah. They hint at the Balrog. Nothing really comes of it. Adar is trying to get with Galadriel to take down Sauron, which, again, doesn't make sense. Annaltar is going to be Annaltar. And Doogie Elrond is kind of just fucking around, I guess. And Numenor is a terrible place. Ar-Pharazôn is a dickhead. Elendil has been cucked again. Yeah. There's your Rings of Power episode 5 review. So, I'll see y'all in the next one. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Like, share, comment, subscribe. And I will see y'all in the next one. Take care and don't smoke crack.